Chapter 10. Contrition. Mademoiselle de Kercadia walked with her aunt in the bright morning sunshine of a Sunday in March on the broad terrace of the Château de Sautron. Because of her naturally sweet disposition, she had been oddly irritable lately. She showed signs of a cynical worldliness, which convinced Madame de Sautron more than ever that her brother Quentin had scandalously mishandled the girl's education. Aline seemed to know about all the things a girl should not know, and she seemed ignorant of all the things a girl should know. That, at least, was Madame de Sautron's perspective.
"Tell me, madame,"
Aline asked.
"are all men beasts?"
Unlike her brother, the Countess was tall and majestically built. In the days before her marriage to Monsieur de Sautron, cruel people described her as the only man in the family. She now looked down from her noble height at her little niece with startled eyes.
"Really, Aline, you have a habit of asking the most unsettling and improper questions. Perhaps it is because I find life unsettling and improper. Life? A young girl should not discuss life. Why not, since I am alive? You do not suggest that it is inappropriate to be alive, do you? It is inappropriate for a young unmarried girl to try to know too much about life. As for your absurd question about men, perhaps you will consider yourself answered when I remind you that man is the noblest work of God."
Madame de Sautron did not want to continue the subject, but Mademoiselle de Kercadia's outrageous upbringing had made her stubborn.
"If that is true,"
Aline said,
"will you tell me why they find such an overwhelming attraction in the immodest women of our sex?"
Madame stood still and raised her shocked hands. She then looked down her handsome, high-bridged nose.
"Sometimes, and often in fact, my dear Aline, you are beyond all understanding. I shall write to Quentin and tell him that the sooner you are married, the better it will be for everyone. Uncle Quentin has left that matter for me to decide."
Aline reminded her.
"That is the latest and most outrageous of his mistakes."
Madame said with complete conviction.
"Who has ever heard of a girl being allowed to decide the matter of her own marriage? It is almost indecent to expose her to thoughts of such things."
Madame de Sautron shuddered.
"Quentin is an uncouth man. His behavior is unheard of. It is disgraceful that Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr should have to parade himself before you so you can decide if he is the right man for you."
She shuddered again.
"It is incredibly vulgar and almost perverse. Good heavens! All of this was arranged between our parents when I married your uncle. I first saw him when he came to sign the marriage contract. I would have died of shame if it had happened any other way. That is exactly how these matters should be handled." "You are undoubtedly right, madam. But since my own case is not being handled that way, you must forgive me if I deal with it differently. Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr wants to marry me. He has been allowed to court me. I would appreciate it if you told him to stop doing so."
Madame de Sautron stood still. She was frozen by amazement. Her long face turned white, and she seemed to breathe with difficulty.
"But what are you saying?"
She gasped. Aline quietly repeated her statement.
"But this is outrageous. You cannot be allowed to play games with a gentleman of the Marquis' status. It has barely been a week since you allowed him to be told that you would become his wife." "I did so in a moment of rashness. The Marquis' own behavior has convinced me of my mistake since then." "But good heavens!"
The Countess cried.
"Are you blind to the great honor he is paying you? The Marquis will make you the most important lady in Brittany. Yet you play games with this extraordinary good fortune like the little fool you are, and the greater fool that Quentin is. Let me warn you."
She raised a warning finger.
"If you continue in this stupid mood, Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr might permanently withdraw his offer and leave in justified humiliation." "That is exactly what I want, madam, as I am trying to explain to you." "Oh, you are crazy." "I might actually be sensible for choosing to trust my instincts. I might even be justified in feeling angry that the man who wants to be my husband is also paying such close attention to a wretched theater girl at the Feydeau." "Aline, is it not true? Or perhaps you do not find it strange that Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr behaves this way at a time like this. Aline, you are such a strange contradiction. You shock me with your indecent expressions one moment, and then you amaze me with your extreme prudishness the next. I think you have been raised like a little commoner. Yes, that is it. You are a little commoner. Quentin always had the heart of a shopkeeper. I was asking for your opinion on the behavior of Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr, madame. I was not asking about my own. But it is inappropriate for you to notice such things. You should be ignorant of them, and I cannot imagine who is so cruel as to tell you. But since you do know, you should at least politely ignore the things that happen outside the world of a properly raised young lady. Will those things still be outside my world when I am married? They will be if you are smart. You should stay ignorant of them. This knowledge ruins your innocence. I would not want Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr to know you are so highly informed for anything in the world. This never would have happened to you if you had been properly raised in a convent. But you are not answering me, madame.
Aline cried in despair.
My purity is not the issue. We are talking about the purity of Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr. Purity.
Madame's lips trembled with horror. A look of horror spread across her face.
Wherever did you learn such a terrible and improper word?
Madame de Sautron then forced herself to calm down. She realized she needed to be very calm and careful here.
My child, since you know so much that you should not know, there is no harm in adding that a gentleman must have these little distractions. But why, madame? Why is it like that? Ah, good heavens, you are asking me the riddles of nature. It is like that because it is like that. It is because men are like that. You mean because men are beasts, which is what I asked you in the first place. You are impossibly stubborn, Aline. You simply mean that I do not see things the way you do, madame. I am not expecting too much, as you seem to think. But surely I have the right to expect that Monsieur de la Tour d'Azyr will not be wooing a cheap theater girl at the same time he is wooing me. I feel like this secretly connects me with that unspeakable woman, and it soils and insults me. The Marquis is a boring man whose courtship consists of stiff, stupid, and unoriginal compliments. Those compliments do not improve when they come from lips that are still warm from the contamination of that woman's kisses.
Madame was so completely scandalized that she remained speechless for a moment. Then she spoke.
Good heavens!
She exclaimed.
I never would have suspected you of having such a vulgar imagination. Cannot help it, madame. Every time his lips touch my fingers, I find myself thinking about the last thing they touched. I immediately go to wash my hands. Unless you are kind enough to deliver my message to him, madame, I will call for water and wash my hands right in front of him the next time he does it. But what am I supposed to tell him? How can I deliver such a message, and what words should I use?
Madame was horrified.
Be honest with him, madame. It is the easiest way in the end. Tell him that he must practice purity when he approaches a pure and spotless virgin for marriage, no matter how impure his past life has been or how impure he plans his future life to be.
Madame stepped back and covered her ears. Horror was clear on her handsome face. Her large chest heaved.
Oh, how can you?
She gasped.
How can you use such terrible words? Wherever did you learn them? In church?
Aline said.
Ah, but people say many things in church that they would never dream of saying in normal society. My dear child, how could I possibly say such a thing to the Marquis? How could I? Should I say it myself? Aline. Well, there is the problem.
Aline said.
Someone must do something to protect me from this insult. I am completely disgusted with the Marquis, because he is a disgusting man. I would honestly rather marry a decent shoemaker, no matter how wonderful it might be to become the Marquise de la Tour d'Azyr.
Aline was so intense and clearly determined that Madame de Sautron pulled herself out of her despair and tried to persuade her. Aline was her niece, and a marriage like this would bring honor to the whole family. Nothing could be allowed to ruin it at any cost.
Listen, my dear,
she said.
Let us be reasonable. The Marquis is away and will not return until tomorrow. That is true, and I know where he has gone, or at least who he has gone with. Good heavens, that cheap girl has a father and a foolish boyfriend who wants to marry her. Neither of them choose to do anything about it. I suppose they agree with you, madam, that a great gentleman must have his little distractions.
Her contempt was as burning as fire.
However, madam, what were you about to say? I was going to say that you are returning to Gavrillac the day after tomorrow. Monsieur de la Tour d'Azur will most likely follow you whenever he is ready. You mean when he is done with this dirty little affair? Call it whatever you want.
Madame had clearly given up on controlling her niece's improper language.
This Mademoiselle Binet will not be at Gavrillac. This entire situation will be in the past. It is unlucky that he met her at a time like this. The girl is very attractive, after all. You cannot deny that, and you must make allowances for him. The Marquis formally proposed to me a week ago. I gave him my consent, partly to satisfy the wishes of the family, partly for another reason.
She paused for a moment, and then continued with a tone of dull pain.
Partly because it does not seem to matter very much who I marry. I now want to permanently withdraw that consent for the reasons I have given you, madam.
Madame became wildly agitated.
Aline, I would never forgive you. Your Uncle Quentin would be devastated. You do not know what you are saying or what a wonderful opportunity you are rejecting. Do you have any sense of your social position or the class into which you were born? If I did not have that sense, madam, I would have ended this long ago. I have only tolerated this courtship because I understand the importance of making a suitable marriage in the eyes of society. But I want something more out of marriage, and Uncle Quentin has left the decision to me. May God forgive him,
Madame said. She then hurried on.
Leave this to me now, Aline. Please let me guide you in this.
Her tone was begging.
I will discuss this with your Uncle Charles, but do not make a final decision until this unfortunate situation has blown over. Charles will know how to handle it. The Marquis will apologize and make amends, child, since your strictness requires it. But he will not suffer too harshly. Surely you will not ask for that much?
Aline shrugged.
I am not asking for anything at all,
she said, which was neither a yes nor a no. Madame de Sautron then spoke with her husband. He was a slim, middle-aged man with a very aristocratic appearance and a good amount of practical common sense. She used the exact same tone with him that Aline had used with her, which she had found so uncomfortably vulgar in Aline. She even borrowed several of Aline's phrases. The result was that the Count de Sautron met Monsieur de la Tour d'Azur when his carriage finally arrived at the chateau on Monday afternoon. The Count wanted to speak with him before he even had a chance to change his clothes.
Gervais, you are a fool.
The Count began perfectly.
Charles, you are not telling me anything new.
The Marquis answered.
Which specific foolish act are you complaining about?
He threw himself tiredly onto a sofa. He sprawled his long, graceful body there and looked up at his friend with a tired smile on his pale, handsome face, which seemed to resist the effects of aging.
I am complaining about your latest act, this Binet girl. Oh, that. It is just a minor incident, hardly a foolish act. It is a foolish act at a time like this.
Sautron insisted. The Marquis looked at him with a question in his eyes. The Count answered it.
It is Aline,
he said meaningfully.
She knows. I cannot tell you how she knows, but she does know, and she is deeply offended.
The smile vanished from the Marquis's face. He sat up quickly.
Offended?
He asked, and his voice sounded worried.
Yes, absolutely. You know how she is. You know the ideals she believes in. It hurts her that you are pursuing this affair with that young Binet girl at the very time you are here trying to win her heart. How do you know this?
La Tour d'Azur asked.
She told her aunt everything in secret, and the poor child seems to have a valid point. She says she will not allow you to come and kiss her hand with lips that are still dirty from another woman. Oh, you understand what I mean. You realize how something like this affects a pure, sensitive girl like Aline. I should tell you what she said. She said that the next time you kiss her hand, she will call for water and wash her hand right in front of you.
The Marquis's face turned bright red. He stood up. Monsieur de Sautron was prepared for an angry outburst, knowing his friend's violent and intolerant temper. But no outburst happened. The Marquis turned away from him and walked slowly to the window. He kept his head bowed and his hands behind his back. He stopped there and spoke without turning around. His voice was both mocking and full of regret.
You are right, Charles. I am a fool. I am a wicked fool. I have just enough sense left to realize it. I suppose it is because of the way I have lived my life. I have never had to deny myself anything I wanted.
He suddenly turned around, and the outburst finally came.
But good God, I want Aline more than I have ever wanted anything. I think I would kill myself in anger if I lost her because of my own stupidity.
He hit his forehead with his hand.
I am a beast,
He said.
I should have known that sweet saint would hate me if she found out about my petty, evil actions. I tell you, Charles, I would walk through fire to win back her respect. I hope you can win it back on easier terms.
Charles said. He then made a weak joke to lighten the mood, which was becoming uncomfortably serious.
You only need to avoid walking through certain fires that Mademoiselle does not consider very purifying. That situation with the Binet girl is completely finished.
The Marquis said.
I congratulate you. When did you make that choice? I made it right this second. I wish to God I had made it 24 hours ago. As it is now, 24 hours with her was enough for me, just as it would have been for any man.
He shrugged.
She is a greedy, selfish little brat with the soul of a cheap woman. Disgusting.
He essayed, shivering with disgust for himself and for her.
Ah, that certainly makes things easier for you.
Monsieur de Sautron said sarcastically.
Do not say that, Charles. It is not true. If you had been less of a fool yourself, you would have warned me sooner. I might have warned you soon enough if you actually learn from the warning. I will do any punishment required. I will throw myself at her feet. I will humble myself before her. I will confess my wrongs with true regret. With heaven's help, I will stick to my promise to be a better man for her sweet sake.
He was tragically serious. This was a shocking revelation to Monsieur de Sautron, who had never seen the Marquis act anything other than calm, arrogant, and mocking. He almost backed away from it. It gave him the feeling that he was spying on someone through a keyhole. He patted his friend on the shoulder.
My dear Gervais, this is a wonderfully romantic mood. We have said enough. Keep that attitude, and I promise you that everything will soon be fine. I will act as your messenger, and you will have no reason to complain. But can I not go and see her myself? You will stay out of sight right now if you are smart. You can write to her if you want, and make your apology in a letter. I will explain why you left without seeing her. I will tell her you did it because of my advice, and I will handle it carefully. I am a good diplomat, Gervais. Trust me.
The Marquis raised his head, revealing a face deeply marked by pain. He reached out his hand.
Very well, Charles. Help me with this, and consider me your friend in all things.
Chapter 11. The Fracas at the Theatre Feda. Leaving his host to negotiate with Mademoiselle de Kercadia. To explain his sudden departure without a formal goodbye, the Marquis drove away from Sautron in a gloomy mood. 24 hours with La Binet had been more than enough for a man of his refined taste. He looked back on the affair with nausea. He marveled that he had found her so desirable just yesterday. He cursed himself for risking his chances with Mademoiselle de Kercadia for such a worthless thrill. His mindset was not unusual, as it stemmed from the classic conflict between base desires and noble intentions in every man. The Chevalier de Chaberlain sat across from him in the massive traveling carriage. He acted essentially as a gentleman-in-waiting for the Marquis. A small folding table was set up between them. The Chevalier suggested a game of piquet, but the Marquis was in no mood for cards. He was lost in thought. As they rattled over the cobblestones of Knots, he remembered he had promised La Binet that he would watch her perform in
The Faithless Lover.
that night. Now he was running away from her. The idea disgusted him for two reasons. He was breaking his promise, and he was acting like a coward. On top of that, he had led the greedy little actress to expect even more favors from him. She had practically tried to negotiate her future with him. She wanted him to take her to Paris, set her up in a furnished apartment, use his powerful influence to open the doors of the capital's great theaters to her. Thankfully, he had not explicitly committed to anything, but he had not firmly refused her either. He knew he had to set the record straight now. He had to choose between his fated passion for her and his deep devotion to Mademoiselle de Kercadia. He believed his honor required him to escape this false position immediately. La Binet would undoubtedly cause a scene. However, he knew exactly how to handle that kind of hysteria. Money always proved useful. He pulled the cord to stop the carriage. A footman appeared at the door.
To the Theatre Feydeau,
He ordered. The footman vanished, and the carriage rolled on. Chaberlain laughed cynically.
I would prefer it if you were not amused.
The Marquis snapped.
You do not understand.
He then explained himself. It was a rare moment of openness for him, but he could not bear being misunderstood on such a matter. Chaberlain quickly grew serious to match the Marquis's mood.
Why not just write a letter?
He suggested.
I would find that much easier.
The Marquis's answer perfectly revealed his state of mind.
Letters can get lost or misunderstood. I refuse to take either risk. If she did not reply, I would never know if she received it. I will have no peace until I know this affair is officially over. The carriage can wait while we are at the theater. We will leave right after. We can travel all night if necessary. Damn it.
Chaberlain muttered with a grimace, but he said nothing more. The large traveling carriage stopped at the brightly lit entrance of the Feydeau. The Marquis stepped out. He walked into the theater with Chaberlain, completely unaware that he was walking straight into a trap set by André-Louis. André-Louis was furious. Clamine had been gone for a long time with the Marquis. His anger grew worse as he watched Binet's unbearable smugness about the situation. He tried to act stoic and detached, but in his heart, André-Louis felt tormented and disgusted. He did not blame Clamine. He realized he had been wrong about her. She was just weak, driven by anyone who promised her success. She was infected by greed, and he was glad he discovered this before marrying her. Now, he felt nothing for her but pity and mild contempt. The pity was a remnant of the love he had recently felt for her. It was like the bitter dregs left at the bottom of a wine glass. He saved his real anger for her father and her seducer. His thoughts on that Monday morning were already dark. Clamine had still not returned from her Sunday excursion in the Marquis's coach. Leander, who was entirely distraught, only made his anger worse. Up until now, the two men had despised each other. Now, their shared misfortune brought them into a strange alliance. At least, that was how Leander felt when he went looking for André-Louis. He found him calmly smoking a pipe on the quay right in front of the inn.
In the name of a pig,
Leander shouted.
How can you sit there and smoke at a time like this?
Scaramouche looked up at the sky.
It is not too cold.
He replied.
The sun is shining. I am perfectly fine here. I am not talking about the weather.
Leander exclaimed in frustration.
Then what are you talking about? About Clamine, of course. Oh, the lady no longer interests me.
André-Louis lied. Leander stood squarely in front of him. He was a handsome man, dressed elegantly with well-powdered hair and silk stockings. His face was pale, and his large eyes looked even wider than usual.
She does not interest you? Were you not going to marry her?
André-Louis exhaled a cloud of smoke.
I assume you are not trying to be offensive, but you make it sound like I live on other men's leftovers. My God!
Leander gasped. He stared in disbelief before bursting out again.
Are you completely heartless? Are you always playing Scaramouche? What do you expect me to do?
André-Louis asked, showing mild surprise.
I expect you to fight for her. But she has already left.
André-Louis puffed on his pipe, while Leander clenched his fists in helpless rage.
Why fight against the inevitable? Did you fight when I took her from you? She was not mine to lose. I only hoped to win her, and you beat me to it. Even if things were different, there is no comparison. That was an honorable situation. But this is hell.
Leander's intense emotion moved André-Louis. He grabbed Leander's arm.
You are a good man, Leander. I am glad I stepped in to save you from this fate. Oh, you do not love her.
Leander cried out passionately.
You never did. You do not know what love is, or you would not talk like this. If she were my fiancée and this happened, I would have killed the man. Do you hear me? But you just sit here, smoking and talking about her like she is someone's leftovers. I am surprised I did not punch you for saying that.
He ripped his arm out of André-Louis's grip. He looked ready to hit him right then.
You should have.
André-Louis said calmly.
It fits your character.
Leander cursed and turned to walk away. André-Louis stopped him.
Wait a moment, my friend. Let me ask you a question. Would you still marry her now? Would I?
Leander's eyes burned with passion.
Would I? If she said she would marry me, I would be her slave. Slave is the perfect word. A slave in hell. It would never be hell as long as I was with her, no matter what she had done. I love her, man. I am not like you. I love her. Do you understand? I have known that for a while.
André-Louis replied.
I just did not realize your condition was so severe. Well, God knows I loved her too. I loved her enough to share your desire to kill. For me, spilling the blue blood of La Tour d'Azur would hardly be enough. I would want to mix it with the filthy blood of the despicable Benet.
For a split second, André-Louis lost control of his emotions. His biting tone revealed the intense fury burning beneath his cold exterior. Leander grabbed his hand.
I knew you were just acting.
Leander said.
You feel the same way I do. Look at us, partners in crime. It seems I have given myself away. So what now? Do you want to see this pretty marquee torn apart? I might be able to arrange that for you. What?
Leander stared at him, wondering if this was another one of Scaramouche's dark jokes.
It is not really that difficult as long as I have some help. I just need a little assistance. Will you help me? Anything you ask.
Leander blurted out.
You can have my life if you need it.
André-Louis took his arm again.
Let us walk.
He said.
I will tell you what to do.
When they returned, the company was already eating dinner. Mademoiselle Clymene had still not come back. A tense silence hung over the table. Columbine and Madame looked anxious. The relationship between Benet and his acting troupe was growing more strained every day. André-Louis and Leander sat in their usual seats. Benet watched them with a nasty gleam in his small eyes. His thick lips twisted into a crooked smile.
You two have become very friendly all of a sudden.
He mocked.
You are very observant, Benet.
Scaramouche replied. His cold disgust was a clear insult.
Can you also guess the reason? It is easy to figure out. Then please, share it with the rest of us.
André-Louis challenged him and waited.
What? Are you hesitating? Is it possible that even your shamelessness has limits?
Benet raised his massive head.
Are you trying to pick a fight with me, Scaramouche?
His deep voice rumbled like thunder.
A fight? You must be joking. A man does not fight with creatures like you. We all know how society views husbands who ignore their wives' affairs. But, in God's name, what kind of respect is there for a father who ignores his daughter's affairs?
Benet heaved his huge body up. He aggressively shook off Pierrot, who was sitting next to him and trying to calm him down.
1,000 devils.
Benet roared.
If you talk to me like that, I will break every bone in your filthy body. If you lay a single finger on me, Benet, You will give me the excuse I need to kill you.
André-Louis remained perfectly calm, which made him even more intimidating. The rest of the company panicked. He pulled the handle of a newly purchased pistol from his pocket.
I carry a weapon, Benet. I think it is only fair to warn you. If you provoke me, I will kill you without any hesitation. It would be like stepping on a slug, which is exactly what you are. A fat, slimy slug. Just a foul creature without a soul or a brain. Honestly, it turns my stomach just thinking about sitting at the same table as you.
He pushed his plate away and stood up.
I am going to eat with the commoners downstairs.
Columbine immediately jumped to her feet.
I am coming with you, Scaramouche,
She declared. Her actions served as a signal. If they had planned it, it could not have been executed more perfectly. In fact, Benet was convinced they had conspired against him. Leander followed Columbine, then Polichinelle, and soon the entire troupe walked out. Benet found himself sitting alone at the head of an empty table in an empty room. He was badly shaken. His anger could not hide the sudden fear creeping into his mind. He sat there trying to figure out what to do. About half an hour later, his daughter finally walked into the room, returning from her trip. She looked pale and a bit frightened. She felt very self-conscious, knowing she had to face the judgment of the entire company. When she saw only her father in the room, she stopped in the doorway.
Where is everyone?
She asked, trying hard to sound normal. Benet lifted his massive head and stared at her with bloodshot eyes. He scowled, puffed out his thick lips, and made a harsh grunting noise in his throat. Still, he took a moment to look at her. She looked graceful and beautiful, a true lady of fashion in her long, fur-trimmed green coat. She held a muff, and her wide hat was decorated with a sparkling rhinestone buckle, sitting perfectly on her beautifully styled brown hair. He thought he had nothing to worry about as long as he had such an attractive daughter, regardless of whatever tricks Scaramouche tried to pull. However, he did not share any of these comforting thoughts with her.
So, you are finally back, you little fool.
He grumbled.
I was starting to wonder if we would have to cancel the show tonight. I would not have been surprised if you had missed it completely. You decided to play your hand your own way and ignored my advice, so nothing surprises me anymore.
She walked over to the table and leaned against it, looking down at him with clear disdain.
I have nothing to regret,
She stated.
That is what every fool says at first. Even if you did regret it, you would never admit it. That is just how you are. You stubbornly ignore the advice of older and wiser people. By my life, girl, what do you really know about men? I am not complaining.
She reminded him.
No, but you will be complaining soon enough. You will soon realize that you should have listened to your old father. As long as your Marquis was desperate for you, you could have made him do anything. If you had just let him kiss your fingertips and nothing more, that would have been the time to secure your future. You could live for 1,000 years and never get a chance like that again. You threw it all away, and for what?
Mademoiselle sat down.
You are disgusting.
She said with obvious disgust.
I am disgusting?
His thick lips curled into a sneer.
I have had enough of living at the bottom of the barrel, and I thought you had too. You had the winning hand to secure a fortune, if you had only played it the way I told you. Well, you played it, and where is the fortune? We can wish for it all we want, but it is gone. And, by God, we are going to need a miracle if things with the acting troupe keep going the way they are. That scoundrel Scaramouche has been turning them against me. They have suddenly developed a strong moral compass. They refuse to sit at the table with me.
He spat the words out, caught between anger and bitter laughter.
Your friend Scaramouche started all of this. He actually threatened my life. He threatened me. He called me, but that does not matter. What matters is that soon the Benet troupe is going to realize they can survive without Benet and his daughter. This ungrateful bastard I took in has slowly stolen everything from me. He has the power to take my troupe away from me today, and he is ruthless enough to do it. Let him.
Mademoiselle replied dismissively.
Let him?
Benet was shocked.
and what will happen to us? The Binet troupe will not concern me for much longer anyway.
She said.
I am going to Paris soon. There are much better theaters there than the Feydeau. There is Mademoiselle Montensier's theater in the Palais Royal. There is the Ambigu Comique. There is the Comédie Française. It is even possible I might get a theater of my own.
For a moment, Benet's eyes widened. He reached out his fat hand and placed it on hers. She noticed it was shaking.
Did he promise you that? Did he actually promise?
She looked at him, tilting her head with a sly, strange little smile on her perfect lips.
He did not refuse when I asked him for it.
She answered. She sounded completely convinced that everything would go her way.
Bah!
He snatched his hand back and heaved himself up. Disgust covered his face.
He did not refuse.
He mocked her, and then his voice filled with anger.
If you had done what I told you, he would have agreed to anything you wanted. More importantly, he would have bought you whatever you asked for. He has endless wealth. You turned a sure thing into a vague possibility. I hate possibilities. God above. I have lived my whole life on possibilities, and I have nearly starved to death because of them.
If she had known about the conversation happening at the Château de Sautron at that very moment, she would not have laughed at her father's grim warnings. But she was destined never to find out, which was the cruelest punishment of all. When everything suddenly fell apart, destroying all her hopes of a future with the Marquis and ending the Binet troupe, she would blame it entirely on Scaramouche's malicious interference. She was partly right. Without the warning from the Lord of Sautron, the Marquis might have used the events at the Theatre Feydeau that night as a convenient excuse to end a messy affair. And the destruction of the Binet troupe was undoubtedly André-Louis's doing. However, it was not an outcome he had planned or even expected. In fact, during the intermission after the second act, André-Louis went to the dressing room that Polichinelle shared with Rhodomont. Polichinelle was in the middle of changing his costume.
I would not bother changing if I were you,
André-Louis said.
The play will probably not get past my opening scene with Leander in the next act. What do you mean? You will see.
He placed a piece of paper on Polichinelle's makeup table.
Take a look at this. It is a sort of last will and testament for the troupe. I used to be a lawyer, so the document is perfectly legal. I am signing over my entire share of the company to all of you. Wait, you are not leaving us, are you?
Polichinelle cried out in panic. Rhodomont also stared at him with the same question in his eyes. Scaramouche just shrugged. Polichinelle continued gloomily.
Of course, we should have seen this coming. But why should you be the one to leave? You are the one who made us successful. You are the brains behind this whole operation. You turned us into a real theatrical company. If anyone has to go, it should be Binet, him, and his miserable daughter. Or, by God, if you leave, we will all leave with you. Exactly.
Rhodomont agreed.
We have had enough of that fat scoundrel. I considered that, of course.
André-Louis said.
I knew you would support me. Let us wait and discuss it after tonight if I survive. If you survive?
They both shouted. Polichinelle stood up.
All right, what crazy plan do you have in mind now?
He asked.
Well, for one thing, I am doing Leander a favor. For another, I am settling an old score.
Just then, the three knocks signaling the start of the next act echoed through the theater.
I have to go. Hold on to that paper, Polichinelle. Who knows, maybe we will not need it after all.
He hurried away. Rhodomont stared at Polichinelle. Polichinelle stared at Rhodomont.
What on earth is he planning?
Rhodomont wondered aloud.
The quickest way to find out is to go and watch.
Polichinelle replied. He quickly finished changing, completely ignoring Scaramouche's advice. Then he and Rhodomont headed for the stage. As they got close to the stage wings, they heard a massive roar of applause from the audience. But it was not normal applause. It sounded different, more intense. As the noise faded, Scaramouche's voice rang out, clear as a bell.
So you see, my dear M. Leander, when you talk about the third estate, you need to be more specific. What exactly is the third estate? It is nothing.
Leander answered. The audience gasped collectively. The sound was loud enough to be heard clearly in the wings. Then Scaramouche quickly asked his next question.
True. It is a tragedy. But what should it be? It should be everything,
Leander declared. The audience erupted into wild cheers. Leander's unexpected answer drove them into a frenzy.
True again.
Scaramouche said loudly.
And more importantly, that is what it will become. In fact, that is what it already is. Do you doubt it? I hope for it,
said Leander, sticking perfectly to his script.
You can believe it,
Scaramouche promised, and the crowd roared like thunder once more. Polichinelle and Rhodomont looked at each other. Polichinelle even winked, clearly enjoying the chaos.
Holy name.
A voice growled behind them.
Is that scoundrel playing his political tricks again?
They turned and saw M. Benet. He had sneaked up behind them with his silent footsteps. He stood there in his red pantaloon costume, wearing a trailing nightgown. His tiny eyes glared fiercely from behind his fake nose. But they quickly turned their attention back to Scaramouche's voice. He had walked right up to the front of the stage.
He doubts it,
Scaramouche told the audience.
But then again, M. Leander belongs to those who worship the outdated system of privilege. Naturally, he is a little afraid to accept a truth that is becoming clear to the rest of the world. Shall I convince him? Shall I tell him how a group of noblemen and their armed servants, 600 men in total, tried to dictate the law to the Third Estate in Rennes just a few weeks ago? Should I remind him how bravely the Third Estate stood their ground? Do I need to tell him how they swept the streets clean of that mob of nobles? That noble scum.
Wild applause cut him off. The phrase hit perfectly. The common people had suffered under that exact insult from the wealthy, and they loved hearing it thrown right back at the nobles.
But let me tell you about their leader. He is either the noblest of the scum, or the scummiest of the nobles. You all know him. He is afraid of many things, but he fears the truth most of all. Men like him want to silence the eloquent truth the moment it is spoken. So he gathered his noble friends and their servants and led them out to slaughter the poor citizens who dared to speak up. But those citizens refused to be slaughtered in the streets of Rennes. They decided that if the nobles wanted blood to flow, it might as well be noble blood. So the commoners organized themselves. They formed their own mob to fight the noble mob. They fought so well that they drove M. de la Tour d'Azyr and his violent followers right off the battlefield, leaving them with broken heads and shattered egos. They ran away and begged the monks for shelter. The monks gave them sanctuary in their convent. Among the survivors was their proud leader, M. de la Tour d'Azyr. Have you heard of this brave marquis, this great lord who controls life and death?
The audience in the pit went wild. They finally quieted down as Scaramouche continued.
Oh, it was an incredible sight to see this mighty hunter running for his life like a scared rabbit, hiding in the convent. Rennes has not seen him since. Rennes would love to see him again. But he may be brave, he is also very careful. Where do you think he is hiding now? Where is this great lord who wanted to wash the streets of Rennes in the blood of its citizens? Where is the man who wanted to butcher innocent people just to silence the voice of reason and liberty that is ringing throughout France today? Where do you think he is hiding? He is right here in Nantes.
The theater erupted in chaos again.
What are you saying? You think it is impossible? My friends, he is in this very theater right now. He is hiding up there in that private box. He is too shy to show his face. Oh, he is a very modest gentleman. But he is right there behind the curtains. Will you not show yourself to your friends, M. de la Tour d'Azyr? Monsieur the Marquis, who thinks eloquent speech is such a dangerous thing. Look, they want to have a word with you. They do not believe me when I tell them you are here.
Now, no matter what André-Louis thought of him, M. de la Tour d'Azyr was certainly not a coward. Saying he was hiding in Nantes was simply not true. He walked around the city openly and proudly. It was just a coincidence that the people of Nantes did not know he was there until this moment. He was far too proud to announce his arrival, and too proud to hide it. However, once he was challenged directly, he acted. Despite the angry reaction of the crowd to Scaramouche's speech, despite Chaberlain's attempts to hold him back, the Marquis pulled open the curtain of his box. He stood there, pale but completely calm and full of scorn. He looked down at the bold Scaramouche, and then at the angry crowd shouting at him. People booed and yelled at him. They shook their fists and waved their canes threateningly.
Assassin, scoundrel, coward, traitor.
He stood firm against the storm, smiling down at them with absolute contempt. He was waiting for the noise to die down so he could speak to them. However, he quickly realized he was waiting for nothing. His obvious contempt only made the crowd angrier. Complete chaos broke out in the pit. People were throwing punches left and right. Groups were wrestling each other, and swords were being drawn here and there. Luckily, the crowd was packed too tightly for anyone to use a sword properly. Men with women, and those who hated violence, scrambled to escape the theater. The whole building was turning into a war zone. People were smashing chairs to use as weapons, and ripping pieces off the chandeliers to throw. A gentleman in one of the boxes threw a piece of a chandelier directly at Scaramouche. It narrowly missed his head as he stood there, looking down in dark triumph at the riot he had caused. He knew exactly how volatile the audience was, and he had intentionally thrown a lit match into the powder keg to start this fire. He watched as men quickly chose sides in the great conflict that was already tearing France apart. Their battle cries echoed through the theater.
Down with the commoners.
Some yelled.
Down with the privileged.
Others screamed back. Then, above all the noise, one single cry rang out clearly and repeatedly.
To the box. Death to the butcher of Rennes. Death to La Tour d'Azur, who makes war on the people.
A large group rushed toward one of the pit doors that led to the staircase up to the private boxes. The fight and confusion spread like wildfire, spilling out of the theater and into the street. La Tour d'Azur's box became the main target for the angry citizens. It also became a rallying point for the gentlemen in the theater and for anyone who supported the nobles. La Tour d'Azur stepped back from the front of the box to greet the men who came to defend him. Meanwhile, down in the pit, a group of angry gentlemen tried to rush across the empty orchestra pit to attack the comedian who started the riot. They were immediately blocked and pushed back by a group of commoners who agreed with André-Louis's speech. Seeing this, and remembering the piece of the chandelier that had almost hit him, André-Louis turned to Leander, who was still standing next to him.
I think it is time to leave,
he said. Leander looked terrifyingly pale under his stage makeup. He was completely shocked by the riot, which was far worse than anything he could have imagined. He mumbled a quick agreement. However, it looked like they had waited too long. They were suddenly attacked from behind. Benet had finally managed to push past Polichinelle and Rhodomont, who had been trying to hold him back because of his murderous rage. Half a dozen gentlemen from the green room had run onto the stage to kill the actor who started the riot. They were the ones who threw aside the two comedians holding Benet. Now they were charging at André-Louis with their swords drawn. But right behind them came Polichinelle, Rhodomont, Harlequin, Pierrot, Pasquariel, and Basque the artist. They were armed with whatever props and tools they could grab. They were determined to protect the man they supported, the man who was their only hope. Benet charged ahead of everyone else. He was moving faster than anyone had ever seen him move. He was violently swinging the long cane that was always part of his pantaloon costume.
You infamous scoundrel,
he roared.
You have ruined me. In the name of a name, you are going to pay for this.
André-Louis turned to face him.
You are confusing cause and effect,
he said calmly, but he did not get a chance to finish. Benet swung the cane viciously, and it struck André-Louis on the shoulder, snapping in half. If André-Louis had not moved quickly, the blow would have hit his head and knocked him out. As he dodged, he reached into his pocket. Right after the crack of the breaking cane came the crack of André-Louis's pistol.
I warned you, you filthy pimp.
He shouted. As he said it, he shot Benet right in the stomach. Benet screamed and collapsed. The fierce Polichinelle, who looked even fiercer in the middle of a real fight, leaned in and spoke quickly into André-Louis's ear.
You fool. That was completely unnecessary. Get out of here right now or you will die. Run.
André-Louis realized it was good advice, and he took it. The gentlemen who had followed Benet onto the stage were distracted. The actors were fighting them with their makeshift weapons, and the sight of Scaramouche holding a second pistol made them hesitate. They backed off and let him go. He ran into the wings, only to run straight into two police officers. The authorities were already rushing into the theater to stop the riot. Seeing the police reminded him of the serious trouble he was in, especially with a bullet currently lodged in Benet's fat body. He aimed his pistol at them.
Get out of my way, or I will blow your brains out.
He threatened. The officers, who did not have guns, were frightened and stepped back to let him pass. He slipped past the green room, where the actresses had locked themselves inside to hide from the riot. Finally, he escaped into the deserted street behind the theater. He ran down the dark street, desperate to reach the inn so he could grab his clothes and his money. He knew he could not escape the city dressed as Scaramouche.